Hi, Andrea. Welcome to Resolve.
Hi, I'm Andrea. Um, I saw a Trevor Noah video the other day where people always start by their profession, and they always say, "I'm a teacher and I'm so and so," and he. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling, but they never tell you about who they are, and I think I'm just somebody who gets their energy and their purpose from other people. I love being with other people and I love being with kids. And I found myself very early in life in the field of hospitality. Okay. And from there, I became a mother. And from there, I became a teacher. I'm somebody who's very passionate about the work that I do, which is working with children. It was a long journey coming here because when I was young and I was in school, everyone told me, you should be a teacher. And I said, no, that's too boring. And then eventually, when I started my professional life, it began in hospitality, which is a very glamorous world. And I worked in hospitality. I worked in a couple of hotels like the Oberoi and so on. But quickly became old. It's a tiring. On the front, it looks very glamorous, but on the backside, it's very tiring. It's very hard work, and I took a break in between to be a mum, to raise my family, and then at midlife, I suddenly realized that what am I doing with my life? I mean, it's good to, I've raised some amazing kids. I have a lovely family. I have all these things, but what have I done for myself? And that at that point, I actually went back to university and I um, was interested to study psychology. And I did. I did my master's in psychology. I became a counseling psychologist and then found my way to be a teacher. And uh, these last 10 years of my life that I've been involved in teaching and with children and to be a counselor for adolescents and so on have been the most happy, most fulfilling, and the most amazing in my life. So I really, really found my purpose and my passion. And I guess that's how I would like to introduce myself.
Could you share more details about yourself? What are some of your interests and your hobbies?
Oh, interest and hobbies. Well, this is something I ask a lot of kids, and sometimes they are stumped. Hobbies, what is that? But I have tons of hobbies. Okay. First of all, I love to read. I am that generation that had books. Okay, we loved to read. And I think my entire life, and it's been a long one, there has never been a day in my life that I haven't read. And I love fiction and I love crime and the murder mystery. Yeah, so I need to read every day, and I think that has really contributed to my communication skills. I think if you ask me what my best or most important skill is, it's the way I communicate, right? And it comes directly from this love I have of books. Okay, so today, yes, books, nobody uses books anymore, but I have my Kindle with me. It's never far from me. If I have 10 minutes to sit somewhere, I will take out my Kindle and I have a book on it and I read. I would say probably about half an hour, 45 minutes every day. I can't go to sleep unless I read. So, yes, reading and reading the most gory, criminal activities, that is one of my most, yeah, I mean, I love doing that. That's a hobby. I collect books. I love books, but I think it becomes cumbersome because books are bulky. So I have a lovely collection on Kindle, which I love. So I love to read. Okay. I think stories are so important. I love stories. I don't like reading nonfiction so much. They tend to go on a bit. I love something that just engages my mind and I can immerse myself into another world. And that's what books do to you, you know? So I love to read. Um, I love to travel. I love to cook. Okay, I'm a very sensual person. Okay, when I say sensual, it means that my senses, uh, when my senses are alive, when you're smelling something nice, when you're tasting something nice, texture is very important to me. You know what something feels like. So I love food. You can tell. Okay, I love food. I love to eat, and I like to try out different things, something new. Uh, like I said, you eat with your eyes, something needs to look beautiful. So yes, the culinary field is something that I'm very interested in. I'm not a great cook, okay, but I love trying out new things, and you know, another thing that I love to do is jigsaw puzzles. Okay, I don't know, I just find it very interesting that you have all these little, like I do the big pair. I have like 1,000, 3,000 piece jigsaw puzzles. There was a time when I had a lot more time on my hands, and I would do 1,000, 3,000, 4,000 piece jigsaw puzzles, and you can just sit there and fit pieces together. I think it's the way your brain is designed, right? Sports, no. No. Okay. I've never been interested in sports, unfortunately. I'd like to have been. It would have probably been a lot healthier for me. But I do like to walk. I do like to, swim. I was a swimmer when I was a kid. When I talk about, and I have a lot of interest, like when you have a hobby, you'll do something for a while and then you might get fed up of it. So for a little while, I love art and I love being creative. Unfortunately, I'm not a very creative person myself. So I love encouraging other people to paint for me. Okay, so while I was a teacher, if a child ever wanted to express gratitude to me, I'd say, would you mind doing a painting for me? Would you mind giving me? So my home is filled with artwork and paintings that my students have given me. And then I said, oh, why can't I do this for myself? And I'm a terrible artist, I'm a terrible painter. So I got these kits, the paint by numbers kits. So I did that for a while. I love to shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hobby in itself, you know. So I need to control myself. So yeah, I have lots of hobbies, and I think your hobbies, what interests you, should be the main part of your life. That you're always doing something that is keeping you engaged and connected to the world. And it doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life. You can do it for a couple of months and you say, okay, now I'm done, and find something else to do. But for me, a hobby is something that connects you to the world,
Yeah.
something that connects you to other people. And I love having lots of hobbies.
How have your hobbies helped shape you as an individual?
They haven't shaped me as an individual because I think whatever I do, I'm not very good at. Okay, I'm someone, I know what I'm good at, and I think it's communication, which comes from my reading. It's being able to talk fluently about anything, to be able to express yourself well. Uh, the hobbies that I have in cooking and in art and gardening and all these things, I'm terrible at it. But what it does do is it connects me to the world, and it connects me to other people. It gives me an activity that I can engage in where I'm using all my senses, that my hands are working, my brain is working. And people read to understand that our brain is constantly being reshaped. There are neural pathways. I'm sorry, I'm delving a little bit into this because I am a psychologist and I'm very interested in the way how people are the way they are. And this is because of the neural pathways that form in their head, right? What they learn, everything that, our senses are constantly feeding our brain. And this is creating neural pathways. So you think of your brain as a city, okay? And your neural pathways are roads linking different um, areas in the city. So, Bangalore traffic is bad, right? So, you could call Bangalore a very confused jumble brain. But you have these beautiful planned cities, right? Where the roadways are clear and you can go from the hospital to the school to the church to the gurdwara to everything in a very clear path. I think, everything that you do is creating these neural pathways, and that is creating a very vibrant community. I think how engaged you are in your life and how smart you are, how you connect with the world, all depends on the neural pathways, how quickly you associate, how quickly you can respond, how quickly you can negotiate. You know, all this has to do with the neural pathways in your head. And I think these activities contribute to that significantly.
General mindset is to have an hobby, I need to be good at it. From what you've said, it's okay to be bad,
Yeah.
as
What do you
long
mean you
as.
need to be good at it? Why? You're doing it for fun. As long as you're enjoying yourself, that's fine. And when it stops being fun, try something else. I'm not musical. I love music. Oh my God. My mom and my sister, they sing so beautifully. Okay. I love music. I love to, sing along, but I can't sing. But I still enjoy it. Is it a hobby? Yeah. I have a very eclectic mix of music on my Spotify list. So I love music. I can't play to save my life. you
Okay.
know I can't play any instrument to save my life, but I love music. It's a hobby. Yeah, you don't have to be good at it.
What are some of the things you're passionate about?
Youth.
News.
Youth.
Youth.
No, I mean, uh, youth, because I just think that youth is wasted on the young. The energy they have, the opportunities they have, the resources. I'm not obsessed with them. I'm passionate about them because I just feel that my life has constantly become better as I've aged. Every stage of my life, from being an adolescent to being a young adult to being a young mother to being middle aged, and now I'm very quickly coming up to senior citizen. But I really feel that, and every time I enter a new stage of my life, I go, wow, this is cool. you know there are new levels of fun and interaction and everything coming in. But I think um, I love being with young people, and this is something that uh, uh, you know being with young people, talking with young people, absorbing their energy, because they have so much of energy. They have uh, you know my son's a potter. They're so malleable. um, I love engaging with them. I love talking to them. I love teaching them. I love sharing them the wisdom that, I don't know if it's wisdom, but I love interacting with them. And I think I'm a very young soul myself. Everyone, I think most of my friends are very young. So when it's not as if they're dealing with somebody from a different generation. They're dealing with, you know, uh, um, a, a peer. So I love being with. So yeah, my profession, my activities deals a lot with being with young people. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It does a lot. You sound like you're someone who's always in a positive state of mind. How do you maintain that?
Oh, that's only today, and that's now. You should have seen me 20 minutes before I came here. I was like, "Will you leave me alone?" I can get quite touchy. But outwardly, I am I am a positive person. There are people who tend to ruminate on certain things, and usually when people ruminate, they ruminate on negative things, right? Happily, I'm not one of those. I can't worry. I cannot ruminate. I probably have a very short span of attention, right? So if something comes up and yeah, I think about it a bit, I get distracted very easily. That's another young trait, isn't it?
Okay. It is.
So I get distracted very easily. I think that's a blessing sometimes. So I don't ruminate. So being positive is easy that way. So there is a lot of horrible things that happen, and there are things that can be negative, but I don't have the span of attention to focus on it. So that's a blessing. And yes, I do get bad tempered when I'm hungry, when I'm tired. I do get quite bad tempered, and people need to avoid me. But I found that I get distracted very easily by something fun, like something to eat, or you can sit down and I read a book. I can get out of being tetchy quite easily.
Okay. So distract yourself when you're restless and then automatic?
I think just embrace it. You know, if you're tired and if you're hungry, uh, yeah, I mean, do what you have to do to get out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah,
Even happiness, you can have a very happiness can be quite exhausting. So you need to be able to experience a full range of emotions. And I experience, because if you don't experience sadness and irritation and frustration, how do you appreciate?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned you went back to studying after you became a mother.
Yes.
Could you take us through that?
Oh my
One
God.
is what inspired you to go back to studies, because you're one of the few people that I've met who's actually taken that decision, and take us through that process, please.
Oh, that was amazing. That was an amazing part of my life because, like I said, I am smart and I've enjoyed my studies and I've been very good at it. Okay. I'll do a little show offy thing right now that almost, I was always a high achiever in class. So whenever I was in school, when I was in high school, when I was at my board exams at university, I was a topper. Okay. And somewhere along the way, when you're good at studies, it's a very easy thing that you study, you do well, and your work and reward, work and reward. But it may not exactly prepare you for life because life is a lot more complicated. And then when you come into the real world, that formula may not always work, right? And you sort of tend to take. I did have some challenges when I entered young adulthood. Um, it was a different era completely where women didn't have as many choices as we do today. There was a child. I lost my dad very early, and I was the eldest one in the family, and I had to take on the responsibility of caring for my family. I also had the responsibility of getting married. At that time, it was something that was just very implicit that, look, you're 25 years old, you should get married, you should settle down, which, I'm a conformist, so I did that. So the fact that I didn't really pay attention to the fact that I could have a career, that I could be something, I could go somewhere, I could accomplish something. I really conformed to the idea that here you are, you've worked, you've taken care of your family, now you're getting married, now you have children, now you take care of the family. I did that. I conformed to society norms, and not very happy outcomes, because by the time I was in my 40s, I was terribly frustrated, because I knew heart of hearts that I had something to contribute to the community. I had something to contribute. I'd raised my kids, I've taken care of my husband, of my home. Everything was ship shape. I was very organized. I did a great job as a mother, I think. You'll have to ask my kids about that. But in my mind, I did the best I could with the resources. I always tell people, um, you can only judge yourself by about what you did, by the resources you had and the knowledge that you had at the time. Nobody does a shoddy job. Everyone wants to do the best. But when I got to my 40s, I was looking at the community around me and I felt that I had somehow missed the boat. In college, I topped my class. I was the head girl. I was somebody everyone looked up to. I was a firebrand. And now I'm this housewife. How did that happen? It happened to a lot of women in my generation. And I said, and I wanted to get back into the workforce, and I had jobs, in between as the kids grew up. I did work in the field of hospitality, but it didn't engage me. I did it probably because I wanted to supplement the household income. I wanted to do this, but it didn't engage me. It didn't become, you know, uh, it was just something that I did probably to keep myself occupied. And I am very grateful because I went through counseling at that time. I wasn't mentally unbalanced. I wasn't anything. We were going through a hard time. Everyone goes through a hard time. There are things that happen in the home that require you to seek assurance, help, and hope, which I did. And I'm very grateful to my counselor because he told me, he says, "What do you regret most in your life?" And I said, "I regret not having something of my own, a career of my own, something that engaged me, that something that utilized the gifts that I have." So he says, "Well, you have your health, you have your energy. What's stopping you?" I said, "But now I'm old." He said, "Oh, that state of your mind. You are the youngest person, most joyful person. Go back." And I did.
Mm.
My son was in class 10 and 11. At that time, I had two boys. So the elder one was doing his A level, and the younger one was in middle school. And our finances weren't that great at the time. There was lots happening in our home. But I decided to go back to university. I decided to do my master's in psychology. Um, I didn't really do a lot of research. I just found a program that suited me
Mm.
because it was just down the road from my kids' school. And everything that I tell kids to do, I didn't do that. I just went to this program. And the universe has a way of bringing you to where you need to be. It is a very, very humble establishment. It's a seminary where people go to study counseling to help others. And I went there, I did my master's in counseling psychology. The community there gave me so much of courage and hope. And I loved those 2 years. I went back into college. I studied. I wrote notes. I had 100% attendance.
Uh,
And this was, I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, pack lunch for my kids, for myself. I would, go to college, drop them at school, go to college. My classes would finish about 4. They would have their sports. I would pick them up, come back home, take care of the house, do my assignments, tons of reading, writing, projects, research. And, this went on. Best time of my life.
okay.
My life changed. My life changed. So when I finished 2 years of doing my master's in this very humble seminary with this community that just pulled me into them, it was the watershed in my life.
Mm.
You know, the community, the curriculum, the um, what it did for me. And I'll be very clear with you. When I came out after 2 years, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a counselor. I wanted to help families. It's not that easy. One of our friends in the school reached out to me and said, "Oh, you've done psychology. Our psychology teacher has left, and we need a teacher." So I go, "I'm not sure I'm qualified to do this." He said, "You have your master's. Yeah, you can come and do this." So I said, "Okay, let's give it a go." And I joined the school and I became a teacher. And I started teaching an international curriculum. Oh my God, listen, it's not easy. Okay. I had to work so hard because the curriculum at high school level was the international curriculum, the IGCSE and IB. I had to teach. It was so much more complex than what I did at the seminary. And that was where I'm reading and I'm learning, and I have to now, and here's where my communication skills, because I can, this is something that I've done all my life, that I can read something and then I can explain. Even when I was in college, I studied English literature, and there were kids who were doing history, who were doing economics, who were doing sociology, subjects I hadn't even taken, but they couldn't understand what they were reading, and I would read and explain to them.
Mm.
Let's go back to when my teachers told me, "Andrea, you should be a teacher,"
Uh,
right? So, yeah. And when I came into the school, yes, you have to understand material and make it interesting. You can't just repeat it and make others. You have to make it interesting. right? You have to catch the imagination of the kids. You have to make them love it. And that was where my challenge came. And it just became something that I wanted to do. That I wanted to, if I was teaching about PTSD, okay, it's a chapter in psychology. How do I make my kids love it? How do I make my kids? So finding different ways. And of course, you're dealing with kids. One is super clever, one is not so smart. One learns kinesthetically, you know. How do you make sure that each one, and this is where I learned that there are no bad kids, there are bad teachers,
Mm.
right? That was my mantra that I had to get through to every kid. And I really love this entire process of teaching. In fact, I miss it terribly. I miss being in an environment where I'm not teaching, you know, to be able to have that challenge. I have this theory that the human being and the human brain is so complex. We're nowhere close to understanding what it is. It's just my imagination, okay? But I really do believe that the entire um, knowledge of the universe is already in our brain. It's already there,
Mm.
okay? And it needs to be unlocked, it needs to be decoded, and it takes a teacher to do that. That's what, you know, uh, I think is something that really got me thinking that how do I unlock? And I'll give you a very, very simple. Um, this was something that really very early in my life, even when I wasn't a teacher, that's something that my son has mild dyslexia and dyscalculia. Okay, and all the time that he was growing up, he could never learn his multiplication tables. He was terrible. Oh, you know, it was so because here is this really smart little child, and he's breaking his back. He's repeating his multiplication. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and he's going on and on and on and on, but he just can't get it. Why? It's not been unlocked. And then one day we were in a car and we just did this visually. You know, I had flashcards and they were visual, that here's 2, 2, and 2, and altogether it makes 6. And he learned it in 2 seconds because now he's a visual learner. So you have, I mean, one of the most important things that people learn in different ways. So being able to unlock what is in your head, that's a teacher. Over the last 5 or 6 years that I've been a guidance counselor and working to, I go out and I talk to children, and one of the first questions I ask them is, I always ask them, what interests you? What do you want to be in life? And I hear, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be an architect, I want to be a chef, I want to be a thing. Not one child has ever come to me and said, I want to be a teacher. And these are amazing people who have spent the maximum time. I mean, children spend the maximum time with their teachers. And to date, not one child has said that they want to be a teacher. We're doing something wrong.
Mm.
And I'd like to correct that because I think the teachers in the community, that's the cornerstone of our community. We are the ones who are shaping the future generations with our philosophy, with our empathy, with our understanding. That's what we are. And if not a single child wants to be a teacher, and then honestly, if you see what is happening, you have the people who can become professionals and the people who can't are becoming teachers. Nobody is wanting to be a teacher. And I think it is the most fulfilling job. It gives you so much of joy. When I look back and I say, everyone told me to be a teacher.
Mm.
And I myself did not want to be a teacher. What's so glamorous about it? What's so amazing about it? And like I said, you know, every Teacher's Day, every 5th of September, you have all these kids who come and say, Teacher, you changed my life. But I think the biggest imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. If you really want to pay a tribute to a teacher, become a teacher.
And
Yeah.
I can relate to that. When I taught for 6 years,
Yeah.
that was probably the most
Fulfilling.
rewarding years of my life.
Yeah.
But then life and other things happened, so I had to leave that.
Yeah.
But one of my things is to get back to that. So
Yes.
the projects I'm building, the end aim is to somehow integrate
Yes.
them into creating something. Because
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, when we're just leaving, the kids come giving you a high five. When they see me at the traffic signal, they shout from the buses saying, "Sir." I mean, the small moments is something that I still carry back with me.
Yeah. I want to put a sticker on my car saying, I'm a
I'm a
teacher.
teacher.
I'm doing something. I'm really doing something for I'm contributing enormously to the community. I'm taking care of your children. I'm making sure that, you know, that they have good ideas and that they're learning to contribute and all of these things. But nobody gives teachers the respect in the community except on 5th of September. Yeah, like mothers, in May, 1 year in the day, the rest of the day we're abused, we're knocked around, nobody gives a shit. Sorry.
I don't have fond memories from my educational days because you described what was wrong. I know what was wrong because I
Yes.
lived that.
Yeah.
But like, so I still carry some of the trauma from school where the method of correcting a student was to make her or him stand in front of the rest of the class and ridicule them. It doesn't work for certain personality types.
Who does it work for?
Yeah,
Who does it work for? Being ridiculed in front of the class, has it worked for anyone?
I don't think so. So that directly impacted my confidence, my sense of self-worth, all of that. It took a lot. It took a toll on me. So that I carried that through my professional years. To break out of that pattern took a lot of awareness and then working on myself.